The Belgian painter Luc Tuymans has, since the 1980s, worked consistently with found and discovered imagery, second-hand imagery, and his subject matter has ranged from Belgium's relationship to the Congo, to the Second World War and the concentration camps. His work is terse, vitriolic, and has a strange perversity. He's one of the leading painters of our time, I think. So every time you do a show, Luc, it seems to have a theme of some sort. That's even your commercial shows. And is that a very deliberate strategy?
Well, actually, it started when the very first show I did in the gallery circuit was like 88. And that was, of course, a mixture of, a choice out of 150 paintings was already there. And from then on, every gallery show has been conceived as a gallery show. And some of them are really tightly knit, others aren't. But for me it's important that every work, and also with this show is the same, like any other show, stands out by itself. But once it's shown for the first time, which is in a gallery, the gallery is not only a shop, it's also the first place where you show your work, or the initial place. And here it's very initial because this is the opening show of David Zwirner's space in London. And, but it also has to make sense, the work together. It has to sort of like draw a vacuum that you enter and leave. Otherwise, I don't think people have the idea they saw something.
Do you think they just think, here's some more paintings on the wall?
Yes, and that's not what painting is about.
You've got these different levels of reality. So you've got a man looking at a mural.
Yeah.
And there's a way in which you have to change the register of painting.
Yeah, and also there's like in the boat painting, and we'll figure that out when we go up too, this is a part of my shoulder because it's actually taken from a computer screen with my iPhone. So
your shadow is also
so my silhouette sort of like presence is in the paint.
Yeah.
And what was interesting here for me actually is that I had to paint it differently. Normally I start out with the lightest color, and then build up the contrast. Here, since the contrast is so high, for me then, I had to make indications where the colors would be and then immediately go into the contrast and come back to get the right color strength in action. So it's a reverse way of working with it.
So you start at one point and work your way out with the same tonal level.
Yeah, so because as I said, normally I just paint like, this is of course the first color is that. Then I made a drawing in the wet paint, and then I would indicate all these sort of lighter colors, but that stopped fairly quick because I had to go there in order to create the harsher colors. This one is about more extrapolized because it's based upon this famous novel of Somerset Maugham, The Moon and Sixpence, and a very awful film which was made about it in the Hollywood era in 1942, played by George Sandler, who was like, of course, a British pastor who could play that very well. The egotistic, immoral asshole who then in the end is sort of like, in the end is absolved because of the work.
Yeah, he's a kind of Gauguin figure, isn't he?
It is loosely interpreted upon Gauguin. Yeah. It first came about, well, we also met not so long ago in the boat structure of James Lingworth of Art Angel, who actually asked me more than a year ago to make one painting for this sort of like prop that's on the Saint Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth concert hall. Yeah. And therefore, all of a sudden, in a flash, it came to me, this image came to me, because I've seen this film way back. I mean, I think we had the first color TV at home, which was quite an event. And then, of course, I remember the movie only because of the end of the end sequence of the movie, where everything turns into color, which we'll see downstairs. Actually, the guy goes into the space, and already the main character is dead. The indigenous woman is rolling in the sand, and there's this doctor of the artist coming to visit the island. and he has a very thick German accent, as all doctors have. And he goes like, all the coconuts were broken, and so on. And then he goes into the hut, and there you get it. If we would chronologically go, this would be the second painting. This is the part where the doctor is in front of the image.
Discovering this room full of...
And again, you can see the shadow that sort of makes a lighter space here, a darker space there. You're closing in on the imagery. You see the women, the children, and you get the element of the exotic feel. You also get the hat, the suit, everything.
So you don't actually make any of it up?
No. Well, I made cuts. I edited the still that I took.
The still from the movie, yeah.
And this is the example where I said I had to keep it going, and which was a challenge because you have twice the same backdrop. So this is the third painting where the doctor actually sort of like disappears into the backdrop. And then...
I mean, they're bad painting to begin with.
Yeah, but that's what I said. This is my joke on modernism, but of course it's not a joke because I normally don't derive art from art because I don't think that's a possibility. But this is also not art, this is kitsch, basically. And here, of course, this was the moment where the doctor becomes visible, at least in profile. And you can see a reasonably amount of anger management. And for me, this was like really the thing, to paint this.
The headband.
The headband and the sharpness of that going into the eyes, so like totally blobbing it out. And this just really sharp, so the cut, I love that.
Do you still paint them in one day?
They're all painted in one day.
You said earlier, it's not what painting's about. What is painting about for you?
Painting is about the fact that it's layered. It's not one-dimensional, although it's two-dimensional. But it's always about layerment, and it's always about precision and timing. And these are really exact elements. It's a very physical thing, and there's a physicality that you cannot totally explain, basically. Even till this day, when I work, the first 3 hours are horrid. They're like hell. I mean, it's like, although I know what I'm doing, of course, by now, after 30 years of painting, I know what I'm doing, but still, it's like stage fright, it's like you still have, and then, when some of the contrast comes together, eventually the pleasure starts and you start to feel that it's going the way it should go. So painting is about something very particular, I think. It's a very strange habit. I mean, I mean, like, even like 3 years ago, I would never expect myself to paint something like this. Which is also interesting. This also proves that you can't go back in painting. No. That's another thing which is the size of bad painting. I can of course repaint everything like Munch actually did, which you can see in the Munch show, which is pretty horrid because it doesn't have the same intensity as the very first one. So I know very well that's not a possibility. Technically you can do it, but intentionally it's no longer there.
Did you always know you wanted to be a painter?
I always drew a lot when I was a kid, and I was nearly autistic until I reached puberty, where I grew immensely and fast, and then started to talk, actually, which I do too much. But the thing is that, that since I know that was something I could do, I mean, I remember, since my mother was Dutch and my father was from the Flemish side, I was often in these vacation camps in Holland, and there was one time where they did a thing like the Tour de France, and so we had to run and this and that. But there was also one day there was a huge square with chalk, and 150 kids had to make a drawing with chalk, and I won. I drew a knight, I still know it. I was 6, and I had to go on stage to put on the yellow sweater for my group. So I knew that was the way I was going to be accepted. So it's a little bit like you ask an actor, why do you want to become an actor? Because I wanted to play James Bond. So that's very simple. But of course, becoming a painter or an artist, that is a decision that comes far later, because you're very well aware about the insecurity and the improbability that you will make it, because it's a gigantic risk you make. But that was actually procured for by one of my teachers, who was a sculptor, not a great artist, but a great teacher, and who teach me drawing. And he pulled me over the line. He said, you have to go there, you have to do that. And so that's how it came about.
Yeah. They kind of fragment as you look at them, and they become...
And here it becomes really very clear, you see.
These,
sort of like
they become more and more incoherent.
Yeah.
But there's still like bruises and infections, which you've always had.
No, that's a good remark, yeah. I didn't think of that, but it's true, yeah. Because, of course, you have the patchwork of the body. I mean, especially in that one, it's self-evident and clear.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it says a lot about masculinity too, these paintings, don't they?
Of course, yeah, they're quite macho in their own sense. But then again, this was the whole idea, I mean, of the portrayal of the sort of heroic artist, as I said, in the film also being portrayed as a sort of egotistic, all fucking moral bastard, immoral bastard. So, and then, of course, given his life. And in the end of the film, also this all burns.
It all burns, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is not something I wanted to go to, but I mean, so in a sense that it's all been in vain, basically.
That's a great place to end, Luc. It's all been in vain.
Thank you.